Welcome, everybody, to one of our flagship sustainability lunch series that we host each year, and that is our Spring Showcase, a chance for you to hear directly from some of our amazing faculty and learn about the sustainability courses that they're offering ahead of bidding. I have a couple of just very quick announcements. We have a really great roster of classes to showcase today, so I'm going to be very brief. First announcement, Climate Cap tickets and registration is coming up on December 8th for MIT Sloan students, but we are going to raffle off a few free tickets to MIT Sloan MBAs. So please enter our raffle. We're going to pull winners. Let's see, in early December. So enter by Sunday, November 30th at midnight. I also shared it in the WhatsApp yesterday. And then my last announcement is just highlighting next week's Sustainability Lunch Series. This is the last event of the fall semester. We're going to be featuring Forma Systems, who were the winners of the Climate and Energy Prize last year. So please be sure to RSVP on Sloan Groups. And with that, I'm going to introduce our MC for today's session, Jason Jay, the Director of the Sustainability Initiative. We're going to share just some quick announcements and an overview of the Sustainability Certificate before we hand it over to our faculty members. Jason, take it away.
Okay. Yeah, this is the day where faculty wish we could be students so we could take all these cool courses from our colleagues. Hopefully you have some of that sentiment as well. Just a quick overview for those of you who are thinking about the Sustainability Certificate. This is available to master's level students across MIT, doctoral as well. We've had PhD students complete it. And the way the certificate works is that you are required to take these three courses: System Dynamics, BSSF, and SLab. You'll hear a little bit about each of those courses. And then you choose courses from, elective courses from a menu of classes that we publish on our website. And usually it's 2 or 3 electives. It has to add up to 45 total units with the required courses. Of course, you don't have to be pursuing the certificate to take these courses, and some of you are here just because you're interested in finding out about the 1 or 2 electives that you might be considering, but we just wanted to situate this in that bigger picture. Among the required courses, System Dynamics has 2 options. There's a half semester and a full semester version, which are 6 or 9 units correspondingly. And then you fill in the rest of the 45 with the electives. So a lot of the electives you'll hear about today are, they're all going to be 6, 9, or 12 units. So sometimes that might factor into your decision making, but we're really just going to focus on the content of what they are today. If you think you might be interested in pursuing the Sustainability Certificate and you haven't already registered that, this is the page on My Sloan, this QR code, where you can say, hey, I'm curious, I'm interested in this. It's not like a legally binding contract or commitment, but it just states your intention. It allows us to start tracking what courses you're taking, and also make sure that you get some of the one-on-one advising that Jen provides to our certificate students. So the electives that we're going to be hearing about today, oh, sorry, this is before that. So this is the certificate. What we've done is we've identified you've given people a little bit of guidance for different trajectories within it. One is based on program. So if you're an MBA student, here's a common sequence that people will use, is that they'll take Business Strategies for a Sustainable Future, BSSF, in the spring of their first year. And they'll take System Dynamics either spring or fall. They'll take SLab in their second year spring. And then these various electives, which are very popular among MBA students, you can sort of spread out depending on your overall schedule. We have similar pathway documents for Sloan Fellows and other programs here at Sloan. And then we also have what are a couple of guidance for people who have specific interests in climate tech, in sustainable economics, finance, and accounting, and in responsible operations and organizations that give you some nudges about what electives and what co-curricular things to do. So lots of resources and information on our website, which is the certificate page. And then the courses page is kind of this searchable database of courses across MIT. And what I'll just say about this page is that we curate courses from all around the institute. What we tend to do is we look for things where they are good for generalist students without a lot of technical prereqs, that have a significant social and/or environmental sustainability component in the syllabus. We do a syllabus review, and that have generally been good experiences for our students. It's a subset of those that we will get to feature today. And you'll get to hear a little snippet about each of them, which is hopefully a teaser for you to kind of take a closer look at the syllabus and maybe include it in your bidding process. And I should also just say quickly that raise your hand if you're not from Sloan, you're from another part of MIT. Okay, so great. So a few of you, if you haven't taken course 15, like Sloan courses before, it means that you will have to participate in the bidding process, which you may not have done before. Ask us for help. We're happy to help you navigate that. One of our key objectives, and this is a project that Sophia Governo is working on, is we really want to encourage more cross-registration across MIT in both directions. Okay. So this is the sequence of classes we're going to be going through. We're giving each faculty member a 3-minute, 3-minute time limit, which Jen will be helping keep time on. So we're going to go in the sequence. Some of these folks are here in person. Some of them are going to be joining on Zoom, and we have a couple of pre-recorded videos. But we're going to start with introduction to system dynamics and Johan, and you'll just use the handheld mic. Sure. Yeah, thanks.
All right, let me introduce you to 871 and 873. I'm going to start off with a thought experiment. What happens if there's a lot of traffic and you build a shiny new 8-lane road? What happens? Well, immediately traffic gets better. But then people start looking out the window and they say, hey, look, there's no traffic. I can take my car instead of walking or taking public transit, so I'll take my car. So over time, or very quickly, traffic builds back up. Maybe not to the level that it was at before, but it builds back up. But then what happens? People say, hey, maybe I should buy a car because traffic looks better. I can use the car to commute now. Okay, that happens over a longer time period. It gets worse. Maybe it's still better than it before you built the road. And public transit degrades because people don't ride it enough for it to earn enough money. What then happens is people also start thinking, hey, look, I can now move outside the city. I can move to an exurb and I can reasonably commute in. And my rent is really expensive here. I can get a house out in the exurbs and do this. They do that. There's no public transit there. And now you're locked in. So what happens is that you get a short-term response, but you get these much medium and long-term responses. And now you're structurally actually worse off. Everybody will have a longer commute. The road gets up to about the capacity where people look and decide that they don't want to travel anymore, which is about the same as it had been beforehand. You've made things worse by investing a lot of money in a very easy or direct solution. So what system dynamics does is try to think about these kinds of problems where you may have a direct effect, something that you want, but then you have all these indirect effects that go through other channels, and try to figure out at a systems level what's going to happen. So instead of thinking of these very simple things only, you're going to try to model this, and it is modeling at the system level, try to identify different pathways, and then try to identify overall effects of any interventions that you may be trying to do. And we try to understand some social systems, a lot of business systems with this kind of framework. So there's two parts to this. There's a half-term course called 871. And in that course, you'll start learning how to think about this, to learn how to think with systems, do a little bit of modeling. But at the end of that, we wouldn't expect that you'd be able to create your own model. It's more that you become a good consumer of models, of other people's models. I would encourage you, if it at all fits into your schedule, to think about doing the full-term version, 873, because that's where you now start being able to develop the ability to create your own models, to work with others to create more complicated models. And that gets you, I think, now to the level you need to be. By the end of 871, you're halfway up the mountain. I say keep going to 873 if you can at all. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Johan. Excellent. Thank you. And system dynamics has been such a pivotal framework in the development of the whole field of sustainability. That's why we require it as part of the certificate. Karen, operations strategy.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Karen Zhang. I'm a faculty member in the Operations Management Group here at Sloan. I will be teaching a full semester 9-unit course called Operations Strategy in the spring. There will be 2 sections of the course. This is a course that will build on the introductory operations management course called Introduction to Operations Management that I hope most or all of you have taken, because it is a prerequisite of taking operations strategy. So in this course, we are basically going to build on that introductory course and expand the discussion into thinking about strategic level decisions related to all aspects of operations of a firm. And a very important feature of this course, I think it connects very well with the previous introduction, is that we are going to think beyond the short-term or more conventional or traditional objective of financial competitiveness and really think about at the systems level what we all know and call triple bottom line. So a central theme of discussion throughout this course is how we think about good operations design is not only providing a competitive advantage, a source of competitive advantage for companies, but also a key enabler for sustainability in all 3 aspects of financial, environmental, and social sustainability. The course will be primarily focused on case discussions of companies across various sectors. And through the discussion, we are going to emphasize a lot on the intersections between operations and sustainability. So in my mind, operations is all about execution. If you don't execute, you cannot achieve true sustainability. So that's why that I think that, a key is to understand how to make things work for the sustainability goals that we want to achieve. And the course will also involve several hands-on experiences, including simulation games and a number of guest speakers to share some of the latest topics in different industries. So I hope that many of you will join, and I look forward to seeing many of you in my class next year. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it. Next up, we have Sustainability Investment Measurement and Impact with Florian Burke.
Hi, I'm a principal research scientist here, and I co-founded and run a research team that's called Aggregate Confusion. Aggregate Confusion because we started 7 years ago, working on ESG data, sustainability data. And we were really confused. And there was a lot of data aggregation and a lot of also measurement issues. And this class is, and I mean, you probably heard of it. A lot of companies, I think 24,000 companies this year will report their CO2 emissions. 15,000 companies will report according to the Global Reporting Initiative. And you have also 40 countries that will make it mandatory to report on ESG data. And this class will basically do a deep dive into how this data is created, is measured, how companies then report on it. And we will do that through exercises. First of all, we will look at ESG disclosure frameworks, then on ESG ratings. This is what investors basically look at. And all through that, we will also motivate that and look through the lens of how can companies themselves actually use that data in decision making. And we will present that with the help of with the analysis of corporate sustainable investments through a DCF, basically.
Great, thank you. And we should say this is a course that's in the IAP in January, not in the spring semester, and it's primarily open to EMBA and Sloan Fellows.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. So we're going to go next to Work Lab. So this is the video. a video, which I'm going to click go. Nope, wait, let's see. 1 second,
The
technical.
MIT Industrial Performance Center. I'm very excited to be teaching Work Lab.
Rewind here. Okay.
Hello, my name is Ben Armstrong. I am the executive director of the MIT Industrial Performance Center. I'm very excited to be teaching Work Lab, a new MIT Sloan course this spring. Now, the goal of Work Lab is to take on big questions that are currently facing employers regarding their workforce. And one of the big questions, as you can imagine, is that as employers try to adopt new technologies to automate with robotics or AI, the question is, how do they do this in a way that can improve the quality of work for their labor force? Now, this isn't just a good thing to do. It's good for the millions of workers out there, but it's also a source of competitive advantage that improving the quality of jobs can lead to better retention. It can lead to more productivity and just increase the competitiveness of employers. This could be one of the key themes in the class, is understanding the conditions under which automation, new technologies can lead to better jobs. We're also interested, and I think one of the ways of getting to this idea of positive sum automation that's good for employers and for workers, is by learning from workers themselves. So we're going to try to understand the ways in which workers' ideas and the knowledge that workers gain from being on the front lines can contribute to overall innovation and improvement within firms, and how firms can capture that knowledge. And then finally, we're interested in why some employers approach workers as a cost center to be minimized, while other workers really invest in skill and look at workforce capabilities as something to maximize. And the question is, why do some employers fall in one category versus the other? And how might you flip from looking at workers as a cost center to looking at workers as a source of opportunity? Now, I'm not alone in this venture. I'll be the lead instructor, and then we'll have mentorship for students from not only new MIT Sloan Dean Rick Locke, who's an expert in these areas, but also Aaron Kelly, who is a leading scholar of job quality and understanding good jobs, also faculty at Sloan, and then Barbara Dyer, who has a lot of practical experience and a great record at Sloan working with students, and also is a former leader of the Good Companies, Good Jobs initiative. Now, what does this look like in practice? So Work Lab is going to be an action learning course with 3 pillars. The first pillar is understanding the theory and the data of why good jobs matter and how employers approach them. The second part is in the classroom, looking at case studies of the different strategies that employers use. And the third pillar, probably the biggest pillar, is going to be time out in the field with employers. Each student is going to be part of a team that's paired with an employer that's grappling with some challenge related to supporting good jobs on the one hand, while also innovating and advancing new technology on the other. And this matchmaking, this pairing of students with employers, are going to allow students both to learn from what companies care about and the problems that they identify, as well as to contribute their knowledge of the theory and the data into helping companies improve their practices. And then the students are going to get feedback from companies on what's useful and what might not be as useful from the students' perspectives.
Right. Great. So that it gets at the social sustainability dimensions that we think about a lot in this curriculum. And then we're going to do one more video pitch here at the moment, which is Harvey Michaels on energy management and AI.
Thanks, Jen and Addison, for putting this together. I'm Harvey Michaels, for a long time an entrepreneur and policy leader in the energy management field. And for the last decade or so, I've loved the opportunity to be teaching about it at MIT. Let me spotlight this spring's energy management and AI strategy seminar. For the third time, we'll have a specific AI focus. And each year I've done this. We have an exciting new generation of AI-enabled opportunities to work with. Energy management isn't new. It's been thriving for decades. Energy management is now a larger industry than energy supply by several measures. Always transformative and filled with opportunities for innovation. It serves as a great Sloan learning case, I think, for new ideas made to matter. So worth considering even if your career plans are elsewhere, I think. The field turns energy on its head, and that's what I love about it. To provide what consumers and industries want and need from energy, such as comfort, light vehicle transportation, rather than the energy itself, which they don't really want to buy, and provides the outcome in a cleaner, lower cost, and better functioning way. It includes energy efficiency technology, services, and financing, building automation, and other smart building systems. Think Schneider Electric and O-Power, site solar and storage, community microgrids, virtual power plants like what Energy Hub and Google are doing, smart building and grid energy retailers, for example, Octopus Energy. So now a minute on the class this spring. We're going to focus on a new era for energy management that is now here, driven by AI, with great promise for today's power grid and climate needs. Our emissions are still way too high. Our energy is too expensive. There's so much more to do, so let's explore it. We'll start with the state of the art in building and power grid dynamics, consider cases of next wave innovative leader companies and technologies. We'll then consider newly enabled AI-enabled paths in building automation, analytics, machine learning, with a focus particularly on agentic AI. Work together on new strategic pathways using these that may help get us to the scale we need. And we'll bring together our ideas with a number of guests, some from the energy AI powered nexus, who are thought leaders in the space, and some innovative business leaders from major companies, and perhaps some recent class alums with startups. I hope you'll consider joining this year. Please reach out to learn more. I look forward to meeting you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Harvey. Next up, we have Chris Knittel talking about his course with Catherine Wolfram, Energy Economics and Policy.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Jason. So I'm Chris Knittel. I'm going to be co-teaching energy economics and policy with Catherine Wolfram. Catherine can't be here today. She's actually the star of this team. Catherine's still in Brazil at the COP, where over the last week, she's made real progress forming carbon coalitions or climate clubs. If you see her in a week or so, congratulate her on the amazing progress that she's made. What is energy economics and policy all about? So this is, in a nutshell, it's a course that goes through systematically all the different markets around energy and how they operate and how they function, and more importantly, how they don't function. What's fascinating about the markets around energy is that they're very different. So you could have an LNG market that's trading a fossil fuel. It acts completely different than oil markets. And at the end of this class, you'll understand how all of the fossil fuel markets work, how critical mineral markets work, how electricity markets work all around the world, and then more importantly, how policies impact how those markets work. So what we do is effectively the first half of the class, roughly speaking, is on markets of things that we take out of the ground. So that's going to be your fossil fuels and your critical minerals and how they function and what policies we use to regulate those markets. And the second half of the class is how electricity markets work and how markets work around the technologies that we use in electricity markets. One of the highlights of the class is we play these two simulation games tied to the content. So in the first half of the class, you're going to be an OPEC member trying to collude with your classmates. And the highlight of the class is when it all breaks down and people start yelling at each other during each class. In the second half of the class, what you're going to do is I'm going to auction off power plants. So you're going to buy power plants. And then you're going to use those power plants in electricity markets, deciding how much to generate from those power plants and what prices you submit in the auction. And then halfway through that game, we're going to put a cap and trade market in the electricity market. So you'll see how operating under an ETS, if you're familiar with that in Europe, affects your decision-making in the electricity markets. So hope to see you there. And
great. Thank you, Chris. Anjali Sastry, you're up next, and Nick Ashford's on deck.
Okay, so you're going to come up with all these great ideas from these other courses. How are they going to reach the world? Well, you'll need to think of an approach to building a business model. It might not necessarily be a for-profit business model that's going to, launch into an IPO at some point. It might be a sustainable nonprofit business that generates positive revenue. And It might be even an idea that you work out as a project within a company, as an entrepreneur, that you transfer over to a government. We look at all such examples in Breakthrough Ventures. I've become really interested in looking more widely for inspirations about how good ideas and solutions can reach those who most need them. So this has led to a focus on frontier markets and low resource settings, where I've discovered all kinds of business innovation that are not usually the subject of case studies and MBA classes. So not every good idea originates for reaching the world and for making money and becoming a self-sustaining business. Not every good idea like that comes only from a US or Western European company. We see really interesting models all over the world and clever uses of existing infrastructure, of social relationships, of traditions and communities, as well as new technologies, AI, sensors, cell phones that are ubiquitous throughout the world. Fascinating, fascinating topics. So we're going to take a romp around the world, looking at really innovative enterprises that have succeeded in cracking the code for scale, sustainability, and quality with products that reach many. So we're not looking, just because you're a Nigerian company, we might not necessarily look at you unless you're actually also reaching different sectors of the market and delivering some kind of social value with your goods and services. This will be more than 15 years since I first started offering this class. And every year we add new cases. So student teams actually pick a promising enterprise to study and make a forward-looking prediction of its profitability, its sustainability, its impact. And now we have that record to look back on as well. I love the fact that it provides our students with inspirations and ideas they can draw on throughout their career. Whatever business you go into, whatever setting, you'd be equipped with a new set of case studies in the back of your mind, joining all those Apple and whatever cases that are already lodged in there. And I welcome ideas for those new enterprises to study. Every year we make a roster of about 20. And I have the opportunity to gear up for the class or follow up by doing an independent study with me. There is always the class always fills before the first day, but courage, persist, and we'll often find space for everyone who wants to take it. Thanks.
Thank you, Anjali. Nick Ashford.
Hi, good to see so many of you here. Thanks. How do I move it up? Yeah.
The big button, the middle one. There you go.
Okay. We don't have a law school at MIT, but I am a product of the Law and Economics program at the University of Chicago, whose economics I don't quite buy into. But if we did have a law school, and our president has said if she were to add one more school to MIT that it doesn't have, it would be a law school. And I teach 3 law and technology courses. One is this semester, environmental law, policy, and economics. And into that course, we compare the role of economics and the role of law with each other and their effect on policy. I mean, you know that the administration that we now have in Washington doesn't believe to place any limitations on coal-fired power plants. They're totally excused. Well, you know, the legal people are fighting very, very hard to have more of a say in public policy. And here,
Middle button. There you go.
sorry. How do I go back?
The bottom button goes back. There. There's that one.
Great, thanks. These are the things that we study in the class, which will contrast legal approaches, the law and justice, with economics, which seems to dominate this particular administration. Can't predict what's going to happen in a year from now. But it is imperative that we know not only the economics that basically dictate what energy policy we're going to have, but what role law, and especially environmental law, has in this. So if you see here, you see that we start with describing administrative law, because you have to have a knowledge in that, which are unlikely to learn in any other classes. And then topic 2 is, what are we talking about in terms of health and safety? Endocrine disruption, toxic materials, energy consequences. And so we're going to review all the kinds of things that are of concern to the human animal. And then we start with the Clean Air Act, of which energy is a major part, because energy and the control of energy systems will determine kind of any air pollution we have. And then in the second part of the course,
Sorry, the clicker must not be working at all. There you go.
thank you, we deal with the Water Act, and then we take time to talk about environmental economics. How does an economic perspective contrast with that of justice and the legal system? And then finally, hazardous waste, pollution prevention, toxics, and the Toxic Substances Control Act, which dictate what kind of products we're putting out. So this law and economics class and their impact on policy is what you will learn, and it's one of the few law-related courses you'll take at MIT. Thanks.
Thanks, Nick. Gita, climate and social impact investing. Thanks. Just look there.
Thank you, Jason. Hi, everyone. I see some of my former students. Hey, Tyler. Yeah, I'm Geeta Rao, and I'm on the faculty in the finance group. And I teach climate and social impact investing in H3. The class is intended to provide students who are interested in climate broadly. So, climate finance. This could be climate tech, clean energy, so on, but also social impact, edutech, health tech, financial inclusion, to teach you the language of finance that is involved in these enterprises. And for that, the basis we use is really the, starting from, the fundamentals, that is early stage enterprise valuation, growth equity, and late stage. And each one of these is different. The way financing is structured is different. You learn about term sheets, you learn about mezzanine financing, you learn about venture equity versus debt. We then move on to impact measurement, looking at additionality and so on. The class is very practical. Live examples, we're going to bring enterprises in, cases. It's very much hands-on, learning by doing, and when it was a full semester class, we had a project. I'm going to try to squeeze in a mini project if I can. I don't know if there'll be time. We'll have to see. And we have a lot of opportunities for building a community with experienced practitioners who work for, like I said, VC, growth equity, and late stage PE and private credit in the impact space. So I hope to see you in class. Thanks,
Great.
Jason.
Thank you. And the prerequisite for that is 15401, which is Intro to Finance.
Intro to Finance, and you can take that concurrently if you don't have, or if you have equivalent finance work experience, feel free to email me, grao@mit.edu.
Great. Thanks, Geeta. Ben.
We are running behind, so I set a timer for 2 minutes, and I'm going to try to stick to that. Hi, everyone. I am Ben Soltoff from the Martin Trust Center for MIT Entrepreneurship. Who's ever gotten tea or coffee from the Martin Trust Center? Raise your hand. And who didn't raise your hand because you're on your phone or your computer? Most of you probably have been over to our center, which means you are part of the entrepreneurial ecosystem at MIT, and that's amazing. There is a vast entrepreneurial ecosystem, and there's a slice of that that focuses on entrepreneurship in climate and energy. Some of you may be familiar with the Climate and Energy Ventures course that's been going almost 20 years and helps pair MBAs with technologies to help commercialize new ventures. We just last semester started a predecessor to that, a precursor called Identifying Opportunities in Climate Tech. It is a structured walkthrough of the landscape of climate and energy. It gives you an idea of the different verticals that are included in climate and energy, some of the different roles you may be able to take on, and helps you figure out where to find your place. We have a textbook for this and the other course, Discipline Entrepreneurship for Climate and Energy Ventures, which officially releases next week, so check it out. Awesome. Thank you very much. The first 6 chapters of this are all about the stuff that's in this course. This course was built alongside of this book, so it is a great way to learn about the ecosystem. We're going to bring in great guest speakers. I teach with Victoria Piscini, who runs Climate Salon and is herself a Sloan alum, and she's amazing to teach with. It is H4. It will be Tuesday afternoons. Come join us. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Ben.
I was under time.
Appreciate the help with the scheduling. Oh, all right. We like that. We like that pitch. Sichi, oh, she's on Zoom. Okay, great.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you, everyone. So sorry I couldn't come to the classroom. And this is my class, 11-350, about sustainable real estate. So basically, I'm here in the Urban Study and Planning Department, and this is a course of our core class of our Master of Science in Real Estate program, and also an elective course on the sustainability certificate. So basically, this one will be a half semester, H3, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesday and Thursday mornings, 9:30 to 11. So the idea is, use the half semester, we will dive into the sustainability side of the real estate industry. As you know, that 1/3 of the carbon emission is from the building sector, and the hurricanes and wildfires, they directly damage the value of those real estate, and then these assets in the banks and lenders and all these pension fund balance sheet. So we are looking into 3 things. We use colors to say. One is the green, energy efficiency, and green buildings, how green buildings can really make a business case for that. Both good for the environment and also good for the business. And then we then go to blue. Blue color means like healthy buildings, not just the energy efficiency, but also the indoor environment and the cognitive performance for the workers and for the people inside the buildings, because you spend 90% of your time in buildings. And then we go to orange. Orange color basically climate resilient real estate. So basically, you can think about it like a seaport in Boston area, all the flooding and all the future risks, and how to build now to be more resilient to future risks. And as many of you know, that last 5 years, this insurance, property insurance skyrocketed, like 20% increase because of those exposure. And if you do something now to improve the resilience, later you can really make sure that your value will not depreciate. So that's basically green, blue, and orange of the sustainable real estate. And then we use case studies for the business side. And we also will introduce a little bit sustainable design. So that's basically my class. And please, if you are interested, just email me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sichi. Appreciate you being here. Next up is we have Climate Change and Planetary Health with Susan Marcotte and Julie. There you go. Yeah. Here's, let me get you 2 mics here. Julie Simpson.
Hi, I'm Julie Simpson. My co-teacher, Susan Marcotte. We teach Climate Change and Planetary Health within D-Lab. This is a hands-on project-based course. So be prepared to get a little bit muddy. So we have 3 objectives in this course. The first is to give everybody just a solid basic foundation in climate science. So we will have a few formal lectures, but not too many. The second objective is to really be able to define the problems that are engendered by climate change. These can be societal problems, environmental problems. There's no shortage of problems engendered by climate change. And the third and most important objective is to start to explore solutions to these problems. So to do this, we use a bunch of different tools, such as En-ROADS, which was developed right here at Sloan. We'll be reading Susan Solomon's book, which is called Solutions. We'll be doing kind of a deep dive into that. We have field trips. And most importantly, each student or groups of students, usually working in teams, will develop a term project that is the beginning of finding the solution to the problem of your choice. The solution of your choice to the problem of your choice. Have I forgotten anything? Susan's going to cover the rest of it.
So I work at D-Lab, which is well known for designing for an equitable world. I've taught at MIT for 28 years, including working with Rick Locke and Simon Johnson 2 decades ago in a course called G-Lab, combining engineering and SLUM students to work on common international projects in low-income countries. This climate change and planetary health class, which Julie and I have taught for 10 years now, so this 2026 will be the 11th year, will include a series of tutorials led by student teams engaging with 9 vital signs of planetary health. There are 9 planetary health boundaries, for example, biodiversity loss, freshwater use, chemical pollution. Just as monitoring vital signs of human health, like temperature or blood pressure, can give a quick assessment of a person's health or that someone is in a critical condition, so the 9 planetary boundaries convey vital information about the state of the planet. 2 examples of past projects for this class that have become a little bit famous, not just at MIT, but expanded to Harvard, are the MIT climate clock. And it's kind of, yeah, thank you. Timely because COP30 is just at the ending time right now. And historically, we've had climate clocks on the Green Building, both during Earth Week or Earth Month and during the COP sessions. That is not occurring this year. That's another story. But this has been not only an event that's happened at MIT, but also at Harvard. Concurrent with that has been something called the Climate Clock LED backpack. And I'm going to pass these around. These are programmable LED backpacks with climate messaging that does not require administration approval in order to be able to run. All right. So we'll pass those around. And,
Thank you, Susan.
am I over time?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Stop there.
But you also have the next slot, so you can steal from yourself.
Yes, I do. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have 3 minutes for this one.
Thank you, Julie, and for this one. And then should I go over to thermal energy networks?
Yes, please.
Okay, great.
So thermal energy networks, over 80% of MIT's direct greenhouse gases derive from heating and cooling its buildings. And currently MIT's campus is heated via steam generated at the central utilities plant, which is powered mostly by natural gas. However, the Sloan campus heats its building with hot water pipes, typically 140 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit, which is more efficient than steam. Thermal energy networks uses ambient temperature water, 45 degrees to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, to transfer thermal energy between sources and sinks. It's a system of building decarbonization that is significantly more efficient. And enabling us to rapidly decarbonize campuses and cities, not only because of its efficiency, but because it is cost effective and the technology is available today. Academic courses on thermal energy networks are new in North America. We think that this class is the first of its kind. Professional certification in thermal energy or geothermal energy networks occurs through the International Ground Source Heat Pump Association's Commercial System Design Workshop. I myself and several former students, including 2 former Sloan students, have taken this professional training. And as a result, instructors from that course are among the guest speakers. Their volunteer participation is motivated by their desire to bring this form of rapid decarbonization to wider public attention. The class has 3 parts: lectures by thermal energy network professionals, then a 1-hour session each week focused on skills training in decarbonizing a specific building on the MIT campus or in Boston and Cambridge buildings. And finally, hands-on decarbonization term project. One project idea for 2026 is to accelerate MIT's campus decarbonization so that we can reach real zero by 2035 instead of 2050. That's a longer story than 3 minutes, so I'm happy to talk about that afterwards. Sloan's Harvey Michaels, whom you've just heard from, gives several guest lectures in this class, and Emily Tao co-teaches this with me. She's a PhD of John Leinhardt's Mechanical Engineering Lab, specializing in heat transfer. She's currently Associate Professor of Mechanical Engineering at Olin. And one of the things Emily and I have in common is that we have both decarbonized our homes with geothermal pumps.
Cool, cool. Thank you.
Have
And we should also say that geothermal is like the one renewable platform that the Trump
that the
administration
Trump administration
is actually okay with. So it's more job opportunities.
There's handouts for you if you wish on
Great.
these courses.
Thank you so much, Susan. Jacob Moscona, Environmental Economics, you ready to go? Great. Here's the mic. Yeah.
Hey everyone, I'm excited to have the chance to tell you about this class, which is actually a new class we started last year in the economics department. That's designed to be it's a graduate class. It's designed to be an overview of a whole range of topics at the intersection of economics and the environment and climate change. I'll tell you a little bit about what topics we cover. So we start off with a broad overview of the various ways in which differences in the environment around the world, differences in geography shape economic well-being and economic development. Then we dive into thinking about climate change, the economic impacts of climate change, various mechanisms of adaptation to climate change, how that happens in developed countries and developing countries, the way that human responses mediate the economic impacts of climate shocks. Then we talk a lot about the drivers of climate change, the drivers of pollution, how that relates to economic activity, how that is regulated by policy, which is a transition more generally into thinking about environmental policy, thinking about the different policies that can be used to address climate change, political feasibility, the political economy of climate policy. And then finally, that first half ends with thinking a lot about innovation, the economics of innovation, drivers of green technological change, the drivers of development of technology that can facilitate adaptation as well. In the second half of the course, we talk a lot about differences in ecosystems that exist around the world and the regulation of those ecosystems, potential economic impacts and benefits of those ecosystems. So thinking about forests and deforestation, oceans and fisheries, thinking about different types of consequences of biodiversity, benefits of biodiversity, and how that also relates to economics and economic activity. And then how this all matters in an increasingly, although maybe now decreasingly, but in a globalized world that's connected by trade, the movement of people, the movement of goods, and how that all in turn affects sort of the progression of climate change, but also its economic impacts. I should say I co-teach the class with Ben Olkin, who's also in the economics department and sort of has written some of the foundational papers estimating the economic impacts of climate change on economic growth and development. The class kind of uses a mix of methods. So we obviously focus on teaching and exploring economic models and economic theory, but also there's a big focus on using data, including new kinds of data from things like satellites and sort of data analysis and new empirical methods as well. I'm probably almost or already out of time, but I'm happy to answer any other questions you have about the class, about environmental economics more generally. My email is my last name at mit.edu, and I hope to see some of you there in the spring. Thanks so much.
Jacob. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming. Brendan Leszczynski. There you go. Yep.
So who here knows the solution to climate change? I'm serious. Who here knows the solution to climate change? Raise your hand. All of your hands are should probably be up on some level, right? Like we kind of know what has to happen. We know we have to electrify. We know we have to decarbonize. We know we have to eat less meat, fly less, et cetera, right? And in 2023, the UN Secretary General said that on climate change, we have all the tools we need to get the job done. And yet here we are. So in this class, we study how to make change in a complex system, which is an activity that I call and other people call leadership. So we're going to look at cases of people and communities who are wrestling with climate change, but we're also going to be studying ourselves as a complex system, because as soon as you introduce the topic of climate change, you introduce conflict, you introduce ambiguity, you introduce loss. And so we can study ourselves, how we as a group are processing some of these difficult conversations. How do we as a group work together and learn together? Ultimately, climate change requires us to stretch our ways of thinking and our ways of interacting with each other. And so we can study how change happens here and now in our classroom alongside climate change. So all this is to say, if you want a space where you can practice operating even in the context of chaos, conflict, and ambiguity, if you want to build your stomach for the tough work of leadership, then I'd love to see you in class next semester. And I'll share one quote from a former student. which is while this course has taught me a lot about creating change and the complexities of systemic challenges, I think I've learned more about myself than anything else. So again, if you want to stretch yourself, if you want to challenge yourself, this is not going to be only intellectually demanding, but also on some level emotionally challenging, as is the work of leadership, as is the work of tackling climate change. This is going to be a great class for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan. Appreciate it. Christine Ortiz and Ellen Spira, I think, are joining us online. Christine? Great. Christine, you can turn on video and we'll get you up on the screen.
Just need to talk.
Or just need to talk, I guess. Sorry.
Okay,
Great. There we go. Okay, now we got you. Great.
Great, delighted to be here. So I'm Christine Ortiz. I'm faculty in Material Science and Engineering and the Institute for Data Systems and Society. I'm also director of the Technology and Policy Program. This is my 25th year at MIT, and this is probably the 8th time I've taught this class, co-taught with Dr. Ellen Spiro, who's a historian of science and technology. And so our class that we co-developed together is called The Social Life of Materials, Sociotechnical, and Policy Futures. So this course, I'm a material scientist, as you heard, and so basically this course starts with a foundation of thinking about emerging materials technologies as well as historical materials that have been developed and the consequences and trajectories and impacts with regards to sustainability and analyzing them within socio-technical systems in relation to technology policy and environmental ecosystems. So we do this. Students have an opportunity to select a particular material system. And every week we have content in the course related to the social, environmental, and policy impacts. And then students apply those frameworks and knowledge to a project that they work on over the whole semester on a particular material system of interest. So the class integrates knowledge from material science and engineering, environmental science and policy, history of science and technology, materials innovation, and materials-focused technology policy. Some of the topics that we go through are sustainable and chemical design and discovery, including all the current transformation of using AI-driven materials design and discovery, governance of global material flows, circular economy, recycling, waste, persistent molecular contamination, nature-based and bio-based materials in the bioeconomy, synthetic biology and new materials, materials in the built environment, and materials for water infrastructure, and materials for sustainable computing and e-waste. And so students have worked on projects. We've had almost 85 students over the years take the class, and they've worked on projects from solar panels to e-waste, nanomaterials, additive manufacturing, PFAS, lithium ion batteries, textiles, smart textiles, spider silk, et cetera, sustainable concrete. And so every student can choose the material that they're interested in. And we've also written papers with numerous materials from the class as well and are open to that. So we would love to have you. It has 3 lectures, 2 lectures a week, which are dialogue-based lectures, and then 1 project written report, which is a 10-page report at the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Bethany Patton was SLab. Yeah, no, take 3 minutes.
All right. No, I'll be very fast. So the Sustainable Business Lab has been around for about 15 years. It was actually started by you, right? You and Rick Locke. Yeah, look.
Anjali, Rick Locke. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a great cast of characters and a long legacy. It's required for the certificate. It's an action learning class, but not a travel lab. So most of the work is done in the classroom. It's really meant to be your capstone experience. So we encourage and really kind of require that you wait until your second year to take it, because we want you to have had a whole bunch of experiences at Sloan in both sustainability classes as well as traditional classes, so that you can bring that knowledge to the project. We have about 15 15 projects with teams of 3. And the class is really meant to be an opportunity to learn from practitioners and alumni. And then we give you a lot of time to be able to work on the project, both with your homework time, your kind of outside of class time. If you have a project that is based locally, then we encourage you to go and visit those sites. But for those that are not, it really is just a phone kind of Zoom relationship building experience. Let's see if there's anything else that I'm missing. It's I think I already said it's sort of a capstone experience, but just to reiterate this, that this is really to build kind of cohort for the certificate students. And so we're trying to both create kind of community. And so we have a lot of peer-to-peer learning opportunities. So if you're having a problem with your project, we incorporate time within the classroom to be able to discuss that with other classmates. Because our intention is that you're going to build a bond that you can then carry forward with your classmates and certificate students that you can use for career development and networking later on. Did I miss anything? No? Good? Yeah.
Thanks,
all right.
Okay, and then I will finally pass the torch to myself. So 15.915 Business Strategies for a Sustainable Future is the sort of flagship content course for the sustainability curriculum here. It's required for the certificate, but open to anybody. What we do, we teach it in 2 sections. So there's a morning section and an afternoon section. Anyone can take either of the sections. Executive MBA students join us in a hybrid mode for the afternoon section so that we get a little bit of their live professional experience into the room. The course starts by illuminating the big picture sustainability challenges from a systems perspective. You can take it concurrently with system dynamics to have a richer grounding in that methodology, but we use that to understand the dynamics of humans' interaction with the environment, and on the social sustainability aspects, what is driving kind of a race to the bottom in labor standards around the world. From that picture, we say, okay, what is the role of firms in trying to take on these big picture challenges? How do we understand the scope for action by companies? What are the pressures that they're under from the standpoint of changing regulations, changing stakeholder expectations, particularly investors, customers, and employees, and communities? And then how do you measure and do the baselining and do the goal setting and do that tactical work of developing a sustainability strategy for a company? And then how do you go about implementing and making change in your buildings, in your supply chains, in your work practices, in your technology mix, in your products and services, so that you can have an alignment between creating business value and profitability with making a difference on sustainability issues. And then we close the course by thinking about the leadership and your own engagement in organizational change that's needed to be able to realize those kinds of practices in your careers. So you can think about it as sort of corporate sustainability 101, but as well as an overview of the various topics in sustainability. And it's a great jumping off point for the many particular disciplines like operation strategy that you heard, or the particular technology topics like the AI and energy management. This is a great sort of survey course about the intersection between sustainability and business. For those of you who might have seen my fall course, 15.385, Innovating for Impact, the difference between the 2 courses is that course is really more focused on early stage and growth enterprises that have sustainability at their core, where 915 deals more with incumbent established enterprises and what scope for action they have to improve their performance and to make a difference in sustainability. So that is 15915, and that also concludes our program here. Thanks all for listening and being part of this. We're happy to close the event since we said 12:45 if folks have other commitments, but I'll also just hang and answer questions, and you can actually pose questions to any of the faculty or others who are still around.